It's been a while since I talked about this project, and actually it's been a while since this project has been around, but I wanted to talk about Perfection Noise, and now you must be thinking, what the hell is that, Vanessa? It's an amazing 2D music project that is no longer around. I would say it is a long hiatus. They never announced it ended, but also didn't announce anything of a continuation. So in this episode, let's talk about this 2D music project that was quite awesome and had so much to give, but it was really cut short. Let's kick off this episode of SEIYUU Lounge. Welcome to SEIYUU Lounge, I am your host Vanessa, and in this episode let's talk about Perfection Noise, a 2D music project that, well, ended up meeting its end quite early, which is a pity. This is a project that I was quite excited about when it launched back in 2020. I was really excited about this one. Perfection Noise, to sum it all up, was a 2D music project created by Team Entertainment, which is the creators, let's say, of the Dig Rock franchise. They also have Nintendo Switch games, usually Otome games, and in this case, Perfection Noise was a project part of their sub-label, Spica. And at the same time that Dig Rock is a drama CD plus music franchise, Perfection Noise was also the same. They were releasing music with drama. They had group drama, of course, but then they had their individual drama CDs for each member of this idol group, which was an idol group with a really strong K-pop vibe going on in them, from the looks to the music itself. I found them to be quite refreshing when they debuted, and let me tell you, 2020 was a year in which many 2D music projects debuted. It was, alongside 2015, one of the biggest years when it came to 2D music projects debuting, and out of all of them in 2020, Perfection Noise was one that I was excited the most. And as it is with me having really bad luck, this project is no more. So yeah, to dive into it a little bit, Perfection Noise had that focus on having drama CDs with the group. Of course, there is one with the group, the full group together. Then there is the individual drama CDs in which you and that member of that group are actually interacting with each other. These, I would say, is more of a romance-driven drama CD, the individual ones. They are a situation drama CD in which you actually are part of the story. The drama CDs were not recorded with a dummy head mic, which is a pity because it was not as immersive as you would have wanted. Or maybe I am really spoiled by Reject's drama CDs because most of them are using a dummy head mic. Depending on who you were most interested in this dance and vocal unit, which is to say a K-pop group basically, you had tiny little bits of things that were completely different. They had their storytelling going, they had their own backgrounds as well, they were together, but some of them weren't together because they wanted to. The group is quite dysfunctional, and it is a pity that the story that never got to develop beyond the fact that they were dysfunctional, and by the end of their first CD, they actually started to get along with each other and work as a unit. I wanted to see more of that, I didn't get more of that, which is a pity, but then again, what can we do, right? So there was potential in there, and Perfection Noise only had one group, Noise Nova, so it's safe to say that up until now, when it comes to 2D music projects, this is the only 2D music project that only has one group. Not because they didn't want to add more, it's because the project ended. That group is Noise Nova. Noise Nova is a group that was publicized as saying well-versed in EDM, rock, hip-hop and ballads. And while we got to see a lot of EDM and hip-hop and some rock, we didn't see any ballads whatsoever because they didn't get to expand upon that. They didn't get another chance to actually do more of that. So it was a pity. The group had a really interesting formation, really K-pop style, in which you have members for specific things within the group, we have the main vocals and the sub-vocals, saying that we also have a dance expert and an ace, and also we have a face of the group. We also have those denominations in the group, although most of them were not developed. We only got hints of who would be what. The thing that we all know is that the main vocals were Narumi and Sena. Narumi voiced by Shoya Chiba and Sena voiced by Soma Saito, which is a match made in heaven for me because those are two tenors I enjoy a lot. They actually work pretty well together. Their voice tones actually complement each other, and at the same time Shoya Chiba was learning a lot from Soma Saito when they were working together here for Noise Nova. This is a group that has a double center formation, which is to say there isn't a one center, the two centers are working together at almost at the same time, seeing that Narumi, voiced by Shoya Chiba, was more versed in the vocals, and Sena was well versed. I would say he was well versed in everything because he's basically mentioned in the collection as being the ace of the group because he knows how to sing, to dance, and to be a main vocal, or the face of the group. Is also the face of the group, which is crazy. So he does a little bit of everything, and this felt like it made sense to have Soma Saito doing that because usually in the 2D music projects he's a part of, he usually is the center, or when he isn't, he's one stealing the show from everyone else. But when it comes to the vocals, we have Narumi, voiced by Shoya Chiba, Chisato, voiced by Ryohei Kimura, Sena, voiced by Soma Saito, and Akito, voiced by Kaito Ishikawa. When it comes to actually their positions, Narumi is the main vocal and center, Chisato is the leader and sub-vocal, Sena is the main vocal, center and visual, and Akito is the sub-vocal. When it comes to everything else about the music, we actually got plenty of CD releases in the first year. We got the episode 0, which was a unit CD in which all the members were a part of. And we actually got to see the dynamics between the members, how they got along, what were their problems. We got a sense of what was the problem with this group, because something wrong is going on with them because they don't get along whatsoever. And the leader, Chisato, doesn't know how to make the group actually come together and work really well. So there's a problem there for them to solve in the very first drama CD. They actually end up coming to terms with what they had as qualms between each other, but it took a while for them to not clash at all. And for example, Sena and Akito clash a lot of times. And this is quite interesting because Sena and Akito are voiced respectively by Soma Saito and Kaito Ishikawa. Which is interesting because, for example, in the Dear Vocalist franchise, Kagaribi, the band in which Soma Saito voices Judah, Kaito Ishikawa actually voices Simon, the guitarist, with which he doesn't get along as well. So it is something that dynamic is actually following the two of them, Soma and Kaito, and and in this case, as Sena and Akito, they also clashed again. So there's that problem with their dynamic as well. And then Narumi has a problem with his confidence. Chisato also has a problem with his confidence, especially because he doesn't have that much power over the rest of the group. They respect him, but not enough. So there's a lot to be worked together in that first drama CD. We got a little bit of that glimpse into how they deepened their ties, how they aimed to survive together in the entertainment world, because the entertainment world is vicious. The solo CDs, of course, they counted with solo tracks, which is to say one solo song, and then drama tracks that actually covered your relationship, you, the listener, with them. Let me tell you something, that across all CDs, you were brought in by their music label to be or to become their group's new manager. So you are new, they don't know you, some of them are clashing with you, some don't respect you, some think that you are there just to waste their time, so they are not necessarily really warm to you. On the contrary, they start in a weird enemies to lovers vibe that may appeal to most of you, at least for me it appealed. But in some cases, there are some characters that are quite aggressive towards you at the start or dismissive, and that really didn't sit that well with me. But the characters ended up redeeming themselves. Some of them had quite the dramatic arc, and I wanted to see more, to see that developing. Unfortunately, nothing developed. because we only got the first volume by each member and then we didn't get anything more. When it comes to the music, they released True Place, one amazing debut song. And for a debut, for a group that is clearly K-pop inspired from its vibe to everything else, I was expecting more people to get into them because K-pop music is really trendy. There aren't enough 2D music groups that actually have a K-pop inspired vibe or tone or even organization with definitive roles between the characters. So I thought at the time that it made sense that people would get into these, but actually the reality is that people didn't get into these. And that's why we are talking about Perfection Noise as being a project which had a lot of potential, but eventually it died down slowly and silently. When it came to the solo songs, we had Deep by Narumi, we had Turning Point by Sena, we had Down to Zero by Akito, and we had Achromatic by Chisato. When it comes to the solo songs, I feel that Turning Point is the best one. It is performed by Sena, which is to say Soma Saito. The song is performed almost fully in English, although the English lyrics have a ton of mistakes, but still, the accent, Soma Saito's English accent is unreal. I love the way that he pronounces words in English. And in this case, I love the song a whole lot because it is fairly sexy, fairly intimate, and really mature and intense. It is how I would consume my K-pop. And I was a K-pop fan in the 2010s, so I do know my fair share of K-pop. It was really fun to see K-pop really well fleshed out in that song. Turning Point is really a song that I would find in a 2010s album by a K-pop group. By far, it is really intense, quite sexy, suggestive, and it is the kind of song that really stays in your head. It is so addictive, really. Down to Zero by Akito was a surprise because I wasn't expecting Kaito Ishikawa to sing that well. Kaito Ishikawa has also admitted that he doesn't know how to sing and he doesn't like his singing voice. So when we are listening to these, we already have to know that the voice actor himself is not really that confident in what they do when it comes to singing, but still I feel that his performance in Down to Zero was pretty good. I would say pretty good. I found it better than Shoichiba, and Shoichiba is an amazing singer. Achromatic was a song that was okay. Ryohei Kimura is an amazing singer, but I feel that the song lacked a little bit of a punch. Now in hindsight and after years since it was released and since I reviewed it. But all in all songs were really good. I felt that the songs were genuinely good. I was into this group, I was into their music, I was expecting more people to be into them, but it seems that no one was willing to give it a try to a group or to a franchise that was not from a massive company with a massive marketing budget, and they ended up being buried in the middle of all those 2D music projects that debuted in 2020. And even then, out of all the debut project or the projects that debuted in 2010, not many are around still. Let's say in 2025, not many from that time are around. And it was really weird to see this project fade away because they debuted in 2020 and in 2021, February, they actually announced that they were releasing an original soundtrack CD, which made no sense whatsoever if the project was to continue, so this was hinting that this was the end. The compilation album ended up featuring all the songs by the group, which was only one, and then all the solo tracks by Noise Nova's members, as well as the soundtrack, which is to say the OST that is featured as the songs in the background for the drama parts in the individual solo CD dramas, basically. This was all we got. And this was sad as heck to see happening. Because there was so much potential in this group, there was so much potential in this project. And to see it disappear without people even giving them a chance, when their music was quite unique and the quality was there, I'm not going to be that person to compare with specific groups, but there are 2D groups, 2D pop groups, especially idol groups out there that are so famous, but the quality of their music is nowhere to be found, but still people love them, and yet no one gave it a try to Noise Nova and Perfection Noise. I don't know why, honestly. Because people were talking about it, not enough actually, but there were people pushing that to others and saying, check them out, their music is good. There were people actually getting into their music. I don't know what missed here. What was the connection that missed? Because the quality was here, they were quite refreshing, and no one actually paid attention to them. This is something that really boggles me, because I cannot understand for the life of me how this happened. Because the project had potential, the lineup was star-studded. But yet again, it goes to show that even if your favorite voice actors, the really famous ones, are in a project, it isn't a guarantee that the project will survive in any capacity. And this project is a good example of that. Shuichi Chiba is now a superstar among male seiyuu when it comes to... He's already in almost every single 2D music project out there. Soma Sato is in over 12 2D music projects out there. Ryohei Kimura has become massively popular among fans of 2D music because of his work in the Aopella franchise, and Kaito Ishikawa is actually a darling for many people that love anime. And nothing worked with this lineup filled with stars. It is crazy what happened here. But once again, it goes to show, even if you bring the biggest stars in the world, if a project doesn't have money for the marketing, it will die in that ditch. Which is awful as heck, because there was so much potential and so much quality here to be explored. The storylines had so much to be developed. I was craving more story. The story was genuinely interesting. I wanted to see how I, as the manager, would improve over time and help them become even better. And I would love to see the group changing their dynamics and improve and releasing another song, but we only got the debut song, guys. We only got the debut song. This is the fewest songs that I've ever seen a 2D music project release for a group. They died at their first group song. That's awful. But yeah, this was my take on Perfection Noise. Now let's go to the outro. So much potential, so much quality, a stellar lineup, really interesting music, a storyline that was leaving me with crumbs that I wanted to explore further, but the project died down 1 year since its inception. So it started in 2020, it died in 2021. Unfortunately, they haven't confirmed the end, but seeing that Team Entertainment usually goes silent, they don't announce the ends of anything, this is what happened. That compilation album served as the final nail in the coffin. This was the end for Perfection Noise. This was the end to Noise Nova, and it is a pity because this was a dream lineup for me. When it comes to the vocals, it was a dream lineup for me. And once again, I see a dream lineup. I get really excited about the dream lineup. I enjoyed the music for the very first CDs, and then the project dies down. It always happens, always. It is unreal how many times this happens to me. Whenever I find a new 2D music project to follow, I fall in love with them, and soon after I notice that no one likes them, no one knows about them, and then the project ends up dying silently, or the project releases a final CD and that's all. And most of the projects that end up tanking, either it is because the marketing wasn't there. I feel this is the case with Perfection Noise. There was no marketing whatsoever beyond that first live stream that they did. And there are other projects that die because the concept is overdone, there's nothing new there, the quality of the music isn't there, or they do too many mistakes in a row, or they do something to cancel themselves. It can happen. So yeah, that's a whole mix of weird things that can happen there. As it is, I feel that Perfection Noise deserved more love, more attention, and I'm here to preach about them, for you to give them a second chance in case you have checked them out but didn't enjoy them that much, or you didn't feel that it was worth it to dive into them because there may be more music down the line, but eventually there was never any music down the line. Or in the case that you never dived into this project, I would love for you to find it and enjoy the music. The music is available on streaming platforms, so go check them out. But yeah, I believe this was all for me about Perfection Noise. This is a project that I wanted to still be talking about as being alive, being active, being actively releasing music and developing those storylines and making me excited about K-pop music or K-pop inspired music, because it had been a long while since I had revisited K-pop music, and that project was actually getting me into K-pop again, although I actually found that the K-pop in 2020 was kind of awful, so I actually stopped checking it out. But still, the thing is, it got me into a K-pop kick that I didn't know I wanted. This had so much potential, the lineup was amazing, the songs were really good, and the storylines were left hanging, although they had plenty to develop. So yeah, this was all from me about Perfection Noise. I would love to know if you actually know about Perfection Noise. If you do know about Perfection Noise, which was your favorite song that was released, or did you have any favorite character or characters in this franchise? And if you had, who were the characters? In my case, it was Senna by far. Narumi was actually a character that I liked a lot, but still I felt that he was a bit wishy-washy, and that really gets on my nerves, people that are wishy-washy, and he was actually getting into my nerves midway through the drama CD until he got his act together. Senna, a bit cocky, I would say, a bit independent, or way too independent to the point that he creates problems for himself by not trusting others, but still he had a sort of a redemption act. But still, I wanted to see more of every single character, and we didn't get anything. So yeah, I would love to know what you like about this franchise. If you do, if you don't, this is my invitation for you to actually check them out. There is an extended article on the website. It will be linked in the description of this episode, so do check it out to learn a bit more about the franchise. A pity though, the project is no longer around, they are not active, so you will be checking a project that was left undone in a way that it was never completed fully, let's say. So let me know in the comments on YouTube, and remember, leave your comments as complex or as simple as they may be, and you can be featured on upcoming episodes of SEIYUU Lounge. If you enjoyed this episode and don't want to miss the THTFHQ's weekly male SEIYUU and music related content, hit the subscribe button. And if you are listening to this episode on a podcast listening platform, please consider following the podcast and leaving a review. Leaving a review is really simple and helps other people find this podcast and fall in love with male SEIYUU artists and 2D groups. I'll return next week with another episode of SEIYUU Lounge. Thank you for listening, and see you guys around.